Next part of the presentation is school operations and culture and school operations, which was Mr. Mannon. Dr. Freitas, while he's coming up, I think you got some work to do with on the AP goal that you set up, right? Morning, Mr. Mannon.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So the first slide in this section is the new bell schedule that was constructed. We had this on our minds in regards to extending out periods just due to the population in our lunch in our cafeteria. So what we did was break that out. So it's a 10-period day, and then what we did was decrease the amount of students in the cafeteria from 500 to 350, which will really, do justice for us in regards to our protocols for social distancing and things like that, and open up more space in our cafeteria during lunch periods. So as students get their handbooks at residency, in the in-person portion of residency, you'll see on the first cover as you open up the handbook, the bell schedule that'll be outlined. And so just pay attention as you go through it. On the left-hand side, it'll show the bell schedule. On the right-hand side, what your lunch looks like. It's going to take a little bit of an adjustment period for our students to look at that, talk through it with your parent, and then as you go through your first week, they're going to get acclimated to it. Just going to be a little bit of an adjustment period going from where we're at to now the 10-period day. In addition, we'll get to some other health and safety items here, but we will increase our security staff this upcoming year, not only for just more people in the building, but also extending the hours in which we have security present. So we're going to have them in the morning and then all the way up until 10 o'clock p.m. And in regards to the bell schedule on Thursday, a late start, again, same situation as we've had previously, pre-COVID. We will have that PLC meeting, and so every Thursday will be a late start, and the schedule is outlined there.
And this represents an extended PLC time, which I think Mr. Van Hurst asked earlier and Kylie touched on. And this is something we were prepared to implement last year, and then obviously with the schedule changes and going remote first semester.
And Dr. Freitas will lead us into our diversity, equity, and inclusion slide.
So one thing, that's really important about all the work that we've been doing is in regards to equity, is that in order for us to reach excellence, and I'm paraphrasing the words of Charlotte Danielson, the creator of the model we use to evaluate education, is that equity must be part of the work if we are to be an excellent school and just an excellent educational system in the United States. So this is what we've done so far when it comes to diversity, equity, and inclusion with Dr. Yvette Dubiel, so a leading expert in the state of Illinois, who also works and at the state level, who has worked with the state representatives as far as equity. So we've done Equity 101, understanding what equity is, and we've begun to understand implicit bias. Those are two of the works that we've done so far. There's 8 other workshops scheduled that will be completed by the end of the 21-22 school year. And you can see other topics there as well. Implicit bias part 2, social construct, microaggressions, modern day racism, dimensions of the isms, and teaching and classroom assessments. So these are other trainings that we will do, that we will complete by the end of the school year, and as it relates to our work in diversity, equity, and inclusion. Dave, back to you.
Restorative practices, Dave?
Restorative practices is something that we, have been implementing and using in our office for several years now. In regards to switching the hat from a behavioral standpoint to more of an instructional sense, we do have a team that has been working together within the past year or so, and it's comprised of a lot of our support staff. And so what they're going to do is look at how do restorative practices look within an instructional sense inside the classroom. So they're going to be utilizing those best practices in the upcoming year as really an invaluable resource for our teachers and our students going forward. Some of the sample practices that they're going to be utilizing is just, simple things, greeting students at the door. The first impression I think a student gets is the most important, especially within a year when they're coming back full time. And something that's we're going to do as well is create and transform our entryways to really a welcoming environment, not only just for students coming back from COVID, but just for everybody, regardless if they haven't been here last year or if they've been here, engaging in whatever activities or in-person learning last year. We want you here. We want you to feel welcome, and we want to make that known that everybody is welcome regardless of where you're at. And then let's go forward together in this. And so you're going to see some of that not only in the entryways, but then also in our classroom through goal setting, norm setting, reflection, discussion about choices, things like that, and then grading practices. So, in talking with Kylie and through some of the conversations with our teaching staff last year, that first week is so critical. And so we're going to utilize that not to say what you can't do this year, but like how we can help you in what you can do and what you can engage in. So these restorative, reflective conversations are going to be targeted and something that we're going to use on a frequent basis going forward.
So, Mr. Manning, quick question. I think one of Dr. Freitas's goals is an adult being in contact with everyone in the building, establishing a relationship. We've heard from Ms. Lindquist, we've heard from you, but walk me through, and I know through the ESSER funding that Dr. Smetana's worked on, we'll have additional personnel here, as you indicated, from 7 to 10, kind of acting as that. But walk me through what it really looks like for a student entering the building, because sometimes you do come in and it's a little bit cold.
Yeah.
So tell me how you envision that looking.
Sure. And
then there is a question when you're done answering that.
No, it's a great question. Working with, we met with some students second semester several times in regards to what they would like to see. And what they told us was, we want to see banners, we want to see pictures of students that look like us. We want to have affirmations of when we come in, oh, this is a welcoming environment, and then here's what I can set my goals towards. We want to see activity boards. We want to see calendars. We want to see just friendly faces. Hello. So I've been working with a couple different things. We're going to unveil it here, but a lot of post-it, like banners, signage, and then staff. Like just throwing staff at doors so that when students come in, they're greeted like they were in person second semester and then a little bit first semester as well. I don't know in regards to not contact tracing, the self-certification, how that process looks yet. We're still waiting on the state to provide some of that information for us. So second semester, we had every single student come in with an ID. They scanned their ID and they went forward. We're still working through that process a little bit and what that looks like. Once the state gives us that guidance, we'll go from there. So I can't tell you exactly how it's going to be from where we're at last semester to come in the fall here, but we will have some sort of process when they come in. They're going to be greeted and then we'll go from there. Okay. Whether it's directly going to their classroom or, again, it's all based on guidance, but there's going to be ample support for students as they walk through our doors.
So if I could
There was
also
a question.
interject really quick. So the check-in, check-out is where they literally come, like if I'm struggling, I come to see Mr. Manning at the beginning of the day and at the end of the day to not only make sure that I have like all of my academic stuff, but like how, when I leave him in the morning, he's going to be like, Mona, you are going to have a great day today. I'm confident. And, if you need something at any time during the day, come back and see me. At the end of the day, I know you had a great day. Show me your paperwork. Like that check-in, check-out thing is going to be really, those are the kids that are the ones that feel like they are falling through the cracks. And just so by the MTSS system, they're going to start really making some strong connections with the most vulnerable part of the population. So
I guess
that's
really certainly
helpful.
there's a lot, that's helpful, and we have a wide, and I'm sorry, Lorraine.
Sure,
I know you have a question.
yes, a wide
our
range of
population
kids.
is
Right,
diverse,
sure.
right? In all definitions of that word. So I think reaching not just the targeted population, but it sounds like we're reaching a broader swath, and including kids at this end and kids at this end, I think is going to be so incredibly important because they all had a shared experience in 2020, which
Sure.
was not normal. It was not necessarily positive for a lot of people. So I'm sorry, Lorena, you had a question, Ms. Gaska.
Ryan.
Oh, Ryan, Mr. Van Horst.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go to the same thing that you were saying. And this is a question that I've had, and I love the idea that we are intending to have a trusted adult in the building or a trusted person in the building. One is, I know the goal is setting it that students have one trusted adult or at least one. I would love to see that goal go up to minimum 2 or 3, but that would require each teacher to be making an intentional outreach to engage students on a personal level to do those check-ins. So Mona's mentioning the same thing, of that check-in, check-out, and greeting at the door. I'm curious how we're going to, and I recognize that we may not care to measure it directly, but I'm curious, is there going to be a way that we're going to try to measure whether students feel like they have that trusted adult? I'm also noticing and some of these are hitting later slides, so I'm hoping that we can front load some of these conversations and not have to spend so much time on it in the next few slides. But the monthly community building lessons, I think, are a great time for students to rotate through teachers having those lessons and feeling some trust that they can talk about topics that go outside of the typical content area, and just making sure that students have an understanding that they aren't necessarily going to connect with every teacher, but that we are looking to get multiple avenues for potential connections to reach out when they have concerns, when they have frustrations, so that some of those restorative practices are headed off quickly with people who students trust. So when we do run into those issues where students are having trouble engaging, we know an adult in the building who's got a different kind of relationship. I know there's not necessarily an advisory period in the schedule where students have a homeroom teacher or someone that they're talking in a non-academic level with, but I think that's what we're looking to do, is create an avenue for students to have a trusted adult. And so I would want to up that goal to attempting to have students have 2 or 3 contacts, if not 3 or 4, but I'm curious if there will be any way of understanding whether students are meeting or having those trusted individuals.
Sure, Ryan. I'll make a comment on that. So, doing a pre and post assessment, right? Asking the question, do you have one trusted adult? Early in the fall when we start, and then later in the fall asking the same question, do you have a trusted adult, right? That'll allow us to measure, that goal. So that's the plan at the moment, right?
And I think that might be confusing for students. I know I wouldn't have understood what that meant as a high school student, is to say a trusted adult. So how do we communicate that to students, that they're understanding that it's someone that they feel comfortable going to talk to about something that is more along the personal or relationship end as opposed to content end of things?
In regards to what we did in our office last year, we purchased the enhanced package of Remind, and Remind is a system that a lot of our coaches and our teachers are using just to connect with their students, and it also links up with their classroom sites too. So if they have a Schoology page, they can send a link out for students that are on remote that they weren't there that day or whatever. So we utilized that site for a dean mentoring group last year. And so to answer your question, we have data in regards to how many times those students respond to us, or the frequency, and how much we put out there and we just split. I think we looked at over 150 students, just looking at basic data for attendance and previous data, and so then we compiled our group, and we usually do that at our Q1. So when we say we want to link all of our students up with a trusted adult, I think along the lines of that. We have some administrative meetings here coming up this week, and where we're gonna kind of identify the route in which we go with some of that communication. But that would be one that I would suggest we use as well, in regards to just coming up with a group and then having that, whoever it may be, that staff member then utilize that group. And we did that with our security team as well, not only just our dean's office and our administration. So, and it worked out that and it goes through either their Chromebook to their email to their cell phone, wherever they have linked in to the Remind application. It's just a really good way to communicate with students. And then the parents are also linked in, as well as we had a letter that was generated. We did phone calls and said, hey, we're going to start this program with your student. I hope you don't mind, but we're going to be really forthcoming and consistent with the communication with your student so that they can be successful in the upcoming year. So that's something that I would plan on doing again as well.
Dave, do you mind going to the health and safety?
Sure.
So that I want to make sure we save enough time for Ms. Augustine before 9 o'clock when some people have to sign off. We can stay on after 9 o'clock to do some additional Q&A.
Sure. So last week, the governor extended the COVID-19 executive orders till July 24th. In that order, they outlined that districts and schools should follow the IDPH ISB guidance, which hasn't come out yet, in regards from the ISB at least. So what we're working on right now is just the IDPH phase guidance that we have. And so masks, obviously in the building right now, are required for unvaccinated staff, students, and visitors. We are fully expecting ISB to come out with something here shortly. All of this guidance may change at any moment, depending on COVID rates or where the state thinks that school districts should be at. Social distancing under the current guidance is at 3 feet will be implemented to the greatest extent possible. Students who are vaccinated, this is really critical, do not have to quarantine. So we saw a lot of this second semester where students may have had a close contact with someone on the athletic field or even in the instructional setting, if it was less than 6 feet. And we would have to quarantine them, which means they would miss out those opportunities, whether it's, instructional or extracurricular. So if you are vaccinated, you do not have to quarantine under the current guidance. Testing, we are a CLIA certified testing center. That was kind of something that we accomplished in short order, and we're able to turn that around with the help of our health office and our nurse. And so what that means is any student that is symptomatic that wants to come in and get a COVID antigen test, we can provide that, and it's a rapid 15-minute test that'll let that student know where they're at. So we plan on continuing that. We have enough to carry us far into first semester up until probably December, January. So we're good there. Additional testing may be required for unvaccinated students based on ISB. Again, we're waiting on some of that guidance. And vaccinations, we've hosted 2 vaccinations clinics, one through Jewel and recently last week through Cook County. The second shot for Cook County will be July 14th for those who need their second shot. They will also welcome those off the street or need to come in and walk in and get their second shot. Cook County will help them out with that on July 14th. Self-certification, again, is something that we need to look at as further guidance comes through the state.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank you,
Manning.
Dave.